While Don Jr. was in New York preparing to testify in court, his fiancée Kimberly was at the party dressed up as Trump's constituent, Snow White. Don Jr. was not at Daddy Donald's last night. The prodigal son was being grilled as part of the $250 million case against their business. I did get some exciting news this weekend. According to a new poll from YouGov, which is a serious polling site, or they were before this, I am more popular than the President of the United States.
Jimmy Kimmel just pulled off the unthinkable. He went straight for Don Jr. and his father in what might be the most chaotic roast session ever aired on TV. It felt less like a comedy bit and more like a family cookout gone nuclear. The grill's on fire, ketchup's exploding, and no one remembers inviting Jimmy in the first place. What started as harmless jokes turned into a full-blown comedic bloodbath. And let's just say, the Trumps won't be smiling after this one.
This month, we'll have International Asexuality Day. I mean, because that's a big one. Don't forget that one, folks. That's basically like Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, all wrapped up into one special, radical, insane Democrat holiday.
No, that's right, folks. And if anyone knows special, it's me, DJ TJ. You remember the guy who keeps saying I have no ratings? Well, that makes two of us. They polled more than 1,000 people, and I lead Trump by 16 points. I'm at +3, he's at -13. It's nice, but it feels like, considering the fact that I'm not a convicted felon friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and I've never paid off a porn star or sent a team of masked goons into a park to pull an old lady away from her grandchildren, I feel like my rating should be higher, maybe, than...
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon because Jimmy Kimmel just caused an internet meltdown. Imagine a late-night host accidentally becoming a political wrecking ball. That's what happened. One moment he's cracking jokes, and the next, he's launching punchlines that hit harder than a breaking scandal. What began as a night of humor turned into a televised airstrike, and the targets, Don Jr. and his dad, the former President of the United States.
There he is, tiny soprano. I wonder what's going through his head right now.
I should have worn makeup.
Oh, yeah, good one. Here's the thing about Don Jr. When he lacks in intelligence, he also lacks in charisma. So, and as with all cases involving the family Trump, DJ TJ was sworn in on an upside-down Bible. He will finish his testimony tomorrow, and then Eric will testify, and then Trump will claim he's never met either one of them. But it's getting serious.
Kimmel didn't just roast them, he hosted a full-on bonfire. He tossed in tweets, scandals, and pure sarcasm before lighting the match. It started with Don Jr., who's basically the human equivalent of a glitchy Wi-Fi signal, constantly dropping mid-sentence. He thought he could handle the spotlight again. Spoiler, he couldn't, because Jimmy had a different kind of heat planned.
At this point, finding a toenail in your salad has a 7-point lead over Donald Trump. And I hope he doesn't see this. I hate to, I don't like to upset him, but I think he might be upset because the White House put out a statement this afternoon. This is a real statement. Over 77 million Americans showed up on Election Day to cast their ballots for President Donald J. Trump, who is delivering on his overwhelming mandate to put America first. Jimmy Kimmel prays every night to garner a fraction of that support to keep his show on air after ratings dropped 64% last week. Sad. I like sad with an exclamation point. It would make a nice t-shirt with Trump's face on it, wouldn't it?
You could almost hear political aides whispering prayers as Kimmel sliced through the Trump family chaos like a chainsaw through butter. He started with Don Jr.'s single quotes as desperate attempts at relevance, heavy on energy, light on logic. If charm were cash, Don Jr. would still be paying off his tab from 2016. It was less a roast and more a public service announcement on what happens when confidence outpaces common sense.
I'm just proud of the toughest person I've ever met in my entire life for having the backbone and fortitude to go through this whole mess, as uncomfortable as it's been. And I'm proud to have stood there every single second by his side in that freezing cold courtroom. He's an inspiration to me every single day, and he'll be vindicated.
In other words, Daddy, I was there, Don Jr. wasn't. He just showed up to that.
Then came the moment everyone was waiting for, when Jimmy turned his jokes toward the man himself. When Kimmel, the guy who once teared up on air over healthcare, suddenly becomes a verbal sniper, you know it's serious. He didn't just mock Trump, He dissected him, piece by piece, with the precision of someone who's been taking notes since fake news became a catchphrase. Every jab sparkled with irony, every insult glittered with truth. The best part, Trump probably loved it. Criticism is his caffeine, he can't function without it. Kimmel pointed out how Don Jr. keeps trying to win approval from a father whose emotional range rivals that of a brick in a red tie. It's like watching a grown man audition for affection from someone too busy tweeting about.
You know, sometimes we get so fixated on Trump, we forget there are other disgusting creatures hell-bent on bringing about the end of the world out there. But our president, Metamucil World Peace, is having a pretty good week, or he was anyway. Yesterday, Trump had what was easily the most presidential day of his life. He was front and center on the world stage signing a ceasefire in the Middle East, and then he got home, he started going through the internet, and he just couldn't help himself. Trump made the cover of Time magazine, which he usually loves. You know, before he was president...
That's Kimmel's brilliance. No shouting, no gimmicks, just smooth, cold humor that lands like a stealth slap. His timing was surgical, his delivery effortless. He painted Don Jr. as a tragic figure forever stuck in his father's shadow, trying to prove he's more than Trump Jr., but only confirming it every time he speaks. Then came the killer metaphors. Kimmel compared the Trump dynasty to an overplayed reality show, still running. But the cast and audience checked out seasons ago. The jokes wrote themselves. The internet imploded, conservatives called him unhinged, liberals crowned him a legend, and everyone else just came for the memes. Kimmel wasn't mad, he was entertained, watching the nation's chaos unfold like the greatest reality show ever made.
They're eating their cats, they're eating the dogs. Welcome back to COVID.
Charlie, I thought this was a conspiracy theory, and like all conspiracy theories, it turns out to be true.
What is going on with that lisp? A conspiracy theory, you say? Who's conspiring? Immigrants from Port-au-Prince? I mean, I read that they're wolfing I with feathers.
It's disgusting and it should not be happening in America. It shouldn't be happening anywhere else in the civilized world, but that's the reality. Okay? You look at Haiti, you look at the demographic makeup, you look at the average IQ. If you import the third world into your country, you are going to become the third world. That's just basic. Like, it's not racist, it's just fact.
I don't know, sounds pretty racist to me.
And then he zoomed out. Because Kimmel doesn't just roast, he turned the entire Trump era into one long-running gag, like a company bragging about profits while secretly going bankrupt. It was that perfect kind of comedy that's both hilarious and horrifying. He joked about Don Jr.'s motivational speeches, full of words like strength and success, but somehow missing the fact that the economy's tanking and the staff's quitting. The internet latched on instantly. Don Jr. tried to clap back, but each post proved Kimmel's point in real time. The more serious he got, the funnier it became. Pure irony.
He had fake Time magazine covers hanging on the walls of his golf club, for real. But this one, I guess, conjured up some mixed feelings because of the photo they used. It's upset him so much that at 1:36 a.m. he posted, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. Now I want to go back to that cover and show you this crown. Okay, that's not a crown, that's the letter M. Only he would see an M on his head and assume it's a crown. If that's not an M, you're on the cover of Time magazine, okay?
And there was Jimmy, cool as ever, smiling like a teacher watching a student fail the same question over and over. The roast hit even harder against the backdrop of Trump's presidency, a saga already full of absurd twists. Inflation became a punchline, the border crisis, a bad family road trip, diplomacy, a toddler-run lemonade stand. Kimmel's comedy wasn't just jokes, it was clarity disguised as laughter. His sharpness cut through noise like few journalists could. Naturally, Trump loyalists cried foul, but that only made it funnier. Kimmel likely went home, poured himself a drink, and whispered, "Mission accomplished."
Another sniveling MAGA turd who has a weird twist on our president's name is Don Jr.
Check this out. Joe Biden, 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 Joe Biden has dementia.
That's right. He's the one with the dementia. That's right. It's like he got bitten by a radioactive morning zoo or something. Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden. Here in LA, school is out for the summer.
Meanwhile, Don Jr. stormed online to set the record straight, which, historically, has never gone well for him. His posts read like someone who'd been roasted at dinner and tried to Yelp review the waiter. He declared victory, but the memes had already taken control. And of course, Trump couldn't resist joining in. The man who's insulted half the world suddenly found Kimmel's tone offensive. Another rant, another headline, another round of fake news. At this point, his presidency feels more like an improv show that refuses to close. Watching Don Jr. defend his dad is like hearing someone passionately justify a volcano for erupting. It's passionate lava, he'd say, as the country burns.
Being honored for wearing that tie down to your knees. Every morning is a game of who am I mad at today? Is it the Cracker Barrel logo? Is it windmills? Is it Bad Bunny? Is it the Nobel Prize? Or is it the turkey vagina slapping around on the I'm not sure he's even allowed to show his neck on TV. Wouldn't it be funny if the FCC fined us for showing his neck on TV? Trump went on, I never like taking pictures from underneath angles, but this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? It's like he's a TikTok influencer yelling at her boyfriend for not knowing her angles.
Kimmel's jokes hit deeper because they exposed the absurdity, not just of politics, but of ego. The harder the Trumps fought for respect, the more cartoonish they appeared. Kimmel didn't destroy them with anger, but with perspective. He showed how vanity dressed as power eventually becomes parody. Don Jr.'s endless chase for approval and Trump's obsession with dominance are unraveling, and Kimmel's just there, grinning, knowing he'll never run out of material. It's both hilarious and haunting. In a world drowned by outrage, laughter remains the most honest reaction.
Is being held responsible for making safety last, but fortunately for him, he's got an ardent defender in one Donald J. Jr.
Pete Buttigieg, you saw in the clip earlier, he's taking some personal time because, 19 days isn't enough time. Plus the time he spent chest feeding while we were in the midst of a supply chain crisis and 350 million Americans were depending on him to do his damn job. But there is no accountability. There's not even the expectation of these guys doing their jobs.
And what is your job exactly? Seriously, besides yelling at your laptop, what is it that you do for a living? What do you write on your tax return, son? Donald Trump Jr. is the only guy in America who claims himself as a dependent.
So when people say Kimmel destroyed the Trumps, it wasn't about humiliation, it was revelation. He held up a mirror, and what looked back was a circus of ego and confusion. The roast wasn't cruelty, it was truth with perfect comedic timing. Kimmel didn't attack their politics. He dismantled their performance, the brand, the myth, the illusion of control. It wasn't a feud, it was a cultural checkpoint, a reminder that satire, at its best, can reveal more than outrage ever could. And Kimmel, with his calm smirk and sharp timing, reminded everyone that laughter still has power.
Meanwhile, the president has been doing his part to bring the two sides together by calling one of the sides the party of hate, evil, and Satan. Hate, evil, and Satan. And that's why they call him the peace president. Teddy Roosevelt had a press conference / pity party today. He bitched and moaned and patted himself on the back so many times he almost dislocated his shoulder. He played all the hits. He bragged about winning the elections in Georgia in 2016 and 2024. He again claimed the election was stolen from him in Georgia in 2020. The blaming and the bragging, he cannot stop.
Kimmel just stepped in and turned the chaos into subtitles, and that's the genius of it. He didn't exaggerate the dysfunction, he spotlighted it. Watching Don Jr. defend every misstep was like watching someone insist the sinking ship is just hydrating the ocean. Kimmel tapped into that disconnect between confidence and absurdity and made it art. Even analysts couldn't help but laugh, because he said what they couldn't, that political theater has become self-parody. In the end, it's a lesson. Power might make you untouchable in politics, but never in comedy. Because the moment you take yourself too seriously, someone like Jimmy Kimmel is waiting, smirk ready, punchline loaded to remind the world that sometimes, the truth is the funniest thing of all.